Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? I'm going to bring you in just 1 second. We have a special guest. I'm so excited that you're here tonight. And I can't wait to introduce you to our special guest. I have our information here. Going to bring you up in just a minute. Jesse, let me know that we can hear and see. For those of you just joining, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the 1% Code Live show, and I am your host, Dr. Melvapinn-Bingham. I'm a board-certified radiation oncologist, wife, mother of 3, serial entrepreneur, and investor, and I help healthcare professionals and other top income earners create multiple streams of income. And tonight, we're going to have a very special guest. So let me know in the comments where you're joining, if you're watching the replay, #replay. And I am going to bring on our special guest. This is the first time I've used StreamYard with the guest, so bear with me. I don't get the technicals right. And we are going to introduce her. Hey, Latricia, y'all look so much alike. Oh my gosh, let me bring her up. Okay, I'm adding you to the stream. There she is. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so we have audio. So I'm going to introduce you, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have, and if I pronounce something wrong, I apologize. So welcome, thank you so much for being here. All right, so we have Dr. Laquita, is that correct, Frederick?
Laquita.
Okay, Dr. Laquita. I know Trisha, your sister.
Yes.
And you go by Dr. Q, is that correct?
I do.
Okay, and she's an accomplished higher education, seasoned sports industry professional, and serial entrepreneur with multifaceted experience. Currently, she is the director and associate professor of the Sport Industry Management, Masters of Professional Studies program at Georgetown University. Very, very cool. And before her pivot to academia, she was an award-winning sports marketing and events management professional who held roles in collegiate athletics and professional sports. I'm loving this. For well over a decade, she worked in the Division I college athletics and professional sports, including, but not limited to, Ohio State. I didn't realize that. We lived in Columbus. North Carolina State, Orlando Magic, Atlanta Braves, oh wow, and countless NCAA championships and events. Wow. She loves to travel here and abroad. She's been to 5 countries, 41 out of the 50 states, with plans to visit more countries, more states, and all 7 continents. I'm loving it. Last but not least, she's a proud alumni of both North Carolina State University and the Ohio State University. Go Wolfpack. She has me reading that, right? Go Buckeyes. I have to read that. And go Hoyas in that order. I love it.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited and pleased to be here. A little nervous, but nervous with excitement.
Yes. Well, I don't know what you're nervous about. Like everything I just read, holy crap. Like goals, right? Goals. Goodness gracious. So I kind of want to talk. I was super excited about getting to know you. So just a little background. So are Trish. Like I just know Trish. When I was a college student, I have known her from that long. And then it's like, hey, welcome everyone. Okay, so before I connect that, so I see Carol is here. Welcome, Carol. Jesse, who else is here? Sometimes it doesn't show me the names. Jelena, Keenan Foltz, welcome. Trisha's on, welcome. Joining from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome. So excited. So I lived and joining from, oh yeah, and you're in Alexandria, Virginia. Yes. So we know each other, I guess, through Trish. So she was our undergraduate Delta, soror, chapter, everything. Like we love Trish, right? And then you're like her twin sister, it seems.
A little older, born a few years before, but sure.
Oh my God. Yeah, it doesn't crack, right? Y'all look great. So what are a couple of things? So your bio just speaks for itself. So you go ahead and start. What is it that you want to share with the 1% Code Collective? So this is a group of high achieving individuals like yourself, serial entrepreneurs, investors. We have a lot of dentists in the group, healthcare professionals who have a career and they want to bring in additional streams of income. Where would you start? Tell us a little bit more about yourself if it's not there, and where you'd start. And let's just talk. Is that okay if we're kind of casual?
Yeah, perfectly okay. It's probably the most comfortable thing to do.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Where do I start? Wow. Like everybody else, although I may not be in healthcare, I think most of us have pursued careers that we aspire to. And whether we enjoy them or not, some of us do, and some of us are looking for a transition.
Right.
I think just anybody who's in that type of mindset that you're aspirational and you're ambitious, no matter what you do for a living, if that's just how you are built, you want to do more. You want to accumulate wealth, not just for yourself, which obviously is nice, but you want to be able to make a bigger difference in society. Maybe you want to be able to give more philanthropically. Maybe you want to start a nonprofit. Maybe you want to become a real estate investor. So I think it's a mindset first and foremost. And my sister actually invited me to your 1% Facebook group, and because she and I have these conversations all the time amongst ourselves. And what I really loved about it is I like symbolism. My undergraduate degrees were in English and communications. So the thing about the 1% that resonated with me, aside from the fact that it was a conversation I always have offline, is I always tell people in this world that we live in, especially as minorities, that we're not a monolith, especially Blacks, we're not a monolith. And so when I think about the philosophies of some of the historical figures, I've always called myself a W.E.B. Du Bois Black person. And I say that because he definitely wanted to do it for the culture, as we say, but he also wanted to do it differently than maybe a Booker T. Washington or Marcus Garvey. He really thought it was important for us to get as much education as possible. He thought it was important for us to kind of assimilate, not assimilate as in give up our identity, but to learn and understand how the majority move and how they work, and to bring others with us as we rise. I always tell people in my sports circle, I like to lift as I climb. And so I think that resonated with me because I kind of see this in the same spirit, where we are people who are already accomplished, but we want to do more, and we want to do more so we can do better for ourselves, but we want to do more so we can help others do well too. And I think that's the spirit of wanting to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's the spirit of having multiple income streams, is to not rely on one thing, but to always be aspirational and ambitious and think outside the box about how to do better and how to live well.
Right. Let me stop and get Jesse to put this in the comments, what she just said, because I think that's powerful. And I want you to expound on this a little bit if you can.
Sure.
I want to lift while I climb. Tell me, what's a situation where you realize that's the place you are in? Because that's a lot. That's heavy. Lifting other people while you're climbing. And I start to immediately think about myself and others in our circles, that imposter syndrome you hear a lot, whether you believe in it or not, that self-doubt, that sabotage, and the ability to see where you are and lift while you're climbing. Can you talk about that, and how has that stopped you at any point, or how are you so strong in that?
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm strong in it. I think I'm practicing because I too have imposter syndrome. Even just now, when you read my bio that I had to write, which, by the way, that's the shortened version.
I bet so.
I'm like, who's that? Like, that chick is dope. Like, she's done some really cool stuff. Yes. But I've done so much that sometimes I forget my accomplishments, number one. Number two, I live in the present. So sometimes I'm thinking about my challenges, and like one of the challenges I have at Georgetown, it's a great place to work. It's a very prominent university, nationally, internationally. But inside, I'm an anomaly. I'm a Black woman with a PhD in sports, like sports management. And I come from a male-dominated field where women, whether we're minorities or not, we are kind of like the bottom of the totem pole. So challenge has always been there in my career. So I think of it just that way, why I say lift as I climb, because I'm always climbing. There's always challenge, even as I go up that ladder. But I'm trying to bring people with me as I do it. And one of the ways I've done it in my current position is to hire minorities, whether they are ethnic and racial minorities or whether they are gender minorities. I've tried to be intentional about that. Qualified, of course, but that's one of the ways I try to lift as I climb, or whether it's giving advice to students or putting them in touch with someone in my network so that they can get a great job or internship. I don't think we have to choose between achieving and leaving others behind. I don't think we have to wait. but we do have to strike a balance, and that's the challenge. And so one of the ways I overcome imposter syndrome is not necessarily intentional. It's by trusting the feedback. I don't read my press, but I do listen to it. So if you have friends or family or colleagues or even strangers that are saying, wow, that's impressive, or wow, you've really done something well. I like that speech you gave, or I read that paper you wrote, or I hear good things about you from your patients.
Right.
Like whatever space you move in, believe what they're saying. I just told somebody today that struggles with this as well. He's a coach, in Division I coach in sports, and he was like, I really struggle with compliments. And I said, take the compliment. I said, say thank you. I said, you can struggle with it later, but accept the compliment. I said, because if you think of a compliment like you do reviews, people go out of their way to leave really positive reviews, and people go out of their way to leave really negative because they've had a really bad experience or they've had a really good experience. I said, so if somebody's taking time to give you a compliment, they mean it. Right. That means they had a positive experience with you. It means they saw a light in you. So I do struggle with it, but it's important to me to continue to climb, but lift others as I do it. Right.
Those are great points. So I don't know much about the sports world. Like, I was the person on the team that got like the, most inspired, like hardest worker, not necessarily the results. My husband is an athlete. My kids are an athlete. My sister is actually family physician, and she did sports management. So she's been around that a lot. That sounds like a very competitive culture. Like you said, male dominated. How have you been successful in creating additional streams of income with that balance in the sports world? And tell me a little bit more about your additional streams, and are they in line with what you do in academia, or are they separate?
They are. I don't even know that I would say they're in line with academia, although they are to some degree. It's more so, to your point, aligned with my body of work. So early in my career, particularly sports, it is very competitive. It is very demanding, time, energy, all of that. I always say it looks fun, and it is, but it's so much work that people don't see. When they see a when they see a 3-hour football game, that was a 9-hour day. You see a 2-hour basketball game, that was a 6-hour day. And we're still working a 9 to 5. So it's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So initially I just worked, but then as I climbed, I realized, okay, I can't just rely on this because it is competitive. And people in our profession actually love what they do. So they very seldom leave a role unless they're going to another one. And I didn't want to be limited to the whims of the industry. So my first instinct was to do consulting work. So throughout my career, I've always made myself available to take on additional consulting projects, whether it was event management, whether it was marketing, whether it was PR strategy, in any capacity. And originally it was very freestyle as things came. And I also made myself available as a volunteer so that I could grow my network. Right. So I may be working college athletics, but the NBA is in town. Do you need a runner that day? Because it allows you to meet those people and expand your network. And then you're able to take advantage of that if you do want to do consulting projects or one-offs here and there. And there is a lot of freelance work in the sports world outside of the day-to-day professions. That was my first instinct. The next one was when I bought my home. A lot of people are excited to buy their first home because it's their first home.
Right.
But I actually had gotten a real estate license. And contrary to popular opinion, I actually got it to buy my first home. I felt like it was a strategy to know the industry from the inside out. And it was very beneficial. So when I bought my first home, I was buying it for myself, but I also, at least 50%, if not 70% of my strategy was I knew I was going to turn it into a rental property at some point. So I lived in my home for 5 years, but it's been rented for over a decade successfully and in the black. So I was very forward thinking in that purchase. I didn't look at my first home as my first and last home. I looked at it as my first home, but also my first property in my investment portfolio. So that's another way. And then as I've moved on, the freelance went from being freelance to being more structured. So now my sister and I actually have a formal incorporated consulting company. We've had it for 5 years, and we take on organizational, like major projects. So we have a corporate client right now. And yes, she and I both work full time. So we made sure in securing that contract, and I heard this on one of your lives, it's important to hire a team.
Yes.
And so we made sure that we wrote that into the proposal, that we could afford to hire other consultants, admins, contractors, whomever we needed to bring that project to life. So that's the Cliff Notes version, but I'm sure we'll get into the weeds of it as we talk.
Right. So a couple questions I have. It's a little bit of echo. That's on my side of your phone. Can you hear me? Okay. So a couple questions I have is, I want to go back to you being in you're an employed position, correct, at Georgetown. So where did you learn, and what guidance did you get, or what mentorship did you get? A lot of the people in our group are stuck with the career constraints. Like, actually the podcast came out today and we talk about that. And I talk to people and they're like, well, I have a contract, I'm in academia, I can't do this. Legally, I can't make money outside of this, I can't do that. Where did you seek guidance from that? Or how did you set that up? Or did you start with that, saying, hey, look, I'm an entrepreneur, I want to make these other income streams, this is what I have to have? How did you navigate that, if you could talk about that a little bit?
Very good question, very valid points. And I did exactly what you said. I start there. Okay. Whether I have an active project or not, I articulate at the outset, these are my parameters. And I don't say this often because I do have imposter syndrome, but when it comes to negotiating, I can hold my own. And I tell you want me because I'm good at what I do and I'm the best at what I do, or I'm bringing a certain body of experience, then you hire me, and then you hire my boundaries. So most academic positions, though, it's not entirely that you can't take on an outside position. The trick is you have to do it in the spirit of non-conflict of interest. So like Georgetown, I probably shouldn't be taking contracts with Duke. I know you're a Duke grad. Probably shouldn't be taking contracts with Duke. But I can take a contract with like our corporate client. That's not another academic institution. So there's no likelihood of any confidential information being accidentally or even intentionally exchanged. So there are parameters there. And then at Georgetown, the other key is, I can't speak for every university, but most major universities actually encourage you to be engaged beyond the ivory tower. What they want you to do, though, is disclose. So every year, and it comes every year, you have to renew it every year, we are given a form and ask us to disclose if we have other companies or we have other sources of income, because they want to have that on record. And again, they want to make sure that you're not doing something that's improprietary. So I just let people know up front. And then I'll just say, honestly, another transparent thought, I don't ask permission. Right. I wasn't born with that. My DNA says ask for forgiveness. I don't ask for permission. And I say that in jest, but I say it quite seriously too. I see it as this: being an employee, that is a limited type of option. It is an option, but it is a limited one. You are limited in how much you can earn. You are limited in how you work. Depending upon the nature of your job, you may be limited in the time you have to spare. I'm fortunate that I have the type of job where I don't have 9 to 5. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a very heavy lift, very demanding job, but I'm not expected to clock in. So I can kind of flex some things as long as my work is being done. It's done to the highest level. I'm not dropping a ball. I'm in every meeting. I'm on top of every project. But you have to kind of be intentional about that. Aside from me not asking permission, I look for those things. I don't look at a job and say, okay, I just need a new job and title and money. I look at the holistic opportunity when I'm looking for new opportunities. And I consider interviews, me interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me.
Right. Now, did you start there?
I did not start there. I think it was an evolution. Certainly coming out of grad school, you just want to hit the ground running. You're trying to get into your profession. You're trying to get established, get some experience under your belt, build out your network. I think my awareness came in my late 20s. Part of my awareness came from our family. My grandfather is kind of our inspirational entrepreneur. He's now deceased, but he lived to be 100 for one. But he was born in 1915, and his parents were sharecroppers. And my sister and I did interview him, and we did catch him on camera before he, was deceased. But he talked us through that evolution, and he never got beyond 5th grade. But he said when he got, I guess it was in his late 30s or 40s, he had 7 kids. They had big families back then.
Yeah, right.
And he had a housewife. She stayed home. And he said he just was tired of not earning enough to take care of his family. And his exact words was, I needed to eliminate the middleman. And so he took the skill set that he had gained as a contractor, and he became his own general contractor, and he started his own construction business. So when I think about somebody like that and the challenges of being born into a sharecropping family and then living through segregation and Jim Crow and civil rights, and he literally put all 7 of his kids through college. He paid for most things in cash, and he was independently wealthy. And this is someone who did it, really truly by those bootstraps we hear about. So when my parents passed, I think that's when that survival mode kicked in. And I started reflecting and looking around me at the people and the examples I had seen of entrepreneurs and multiple streams of income. Right. And he did that as well, because he started his construction business, but he also would fix up additional houses on the side and rent those out. And he would also take on additional jobs. So whenever we lost our parents, it really was the tipping point of, okay, I've got to do this differently. Right. And I've just slowly started adding layers as I've gone.
Right. Wow. Can we give her some love for that in the comments? The story about your grandfather, how you've used that. You've given us lots of memorable quotes and things to just reflect on how we could use it in our career. I think that's wonderful. And I just wanted to add that evolution. I found myself in that evolution. I feel like it's this uncomfortable spot when you first realize it starts. And for me, that's my Ohio story. When I first came out of residency, I was in Virginia. It was supposed to be my dream job. I was training in California, moved my family to where my family was in Virginia. And it was a nightmare. And it was a turning point where it was, I'm better than this. I have self-worth. I will not stay in a job where I'm not respected, between racism, sexism, everything. And I literally moved to Ohio. We were in Gallipolis, about an hour from Columbus. And we moved to Athens. I got a house in Gallipolis, and someone was like, you don't want to live there. So I lost like $2,000 on a house. It was a Black surgeon. He's like, you can't do that for your family. I took that $2,000, moved to Athens, so we were closer to Columbus. And I went out in the middle of where it was uncomfortable, but it was that evolution of, I won't be in a position that I can't make a decision that's best for me, for my family. I can't move up. I can't bring anybody else up. So instead of, and now I'm back in Virginia. So it's kind of like a full circle, but it's almost like the evolution that you say, the sacrifice and what you don't have to have. And I think I see a lot of people waiting until they have everything they need. They're comfortable. But like your grandfather's example, a sharecropper, not the money, but he built it up. And it's almost like that evolution starts when you allow those things to happen and you take that leap. So I definitely resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, I would actually like to just quickly add what you expressed in your story, which is similar to my story, is there's always going to be a moment of pain or discomfort. Now, I'm not speaking literal. Nobody's pinching you or beating you up, but it's that internal nag. And so my life coach said this to me recently, and she said, the pain will push you until the passion pulls you. Right. And it just really set with me. And then my version of that is, I don't do comfort zones. Comfort zones are for your home, and cruise control is for the highway. When you're uncomfortable, that is life, the life force. You can call it God or universe or whomever you worship. That is life force pulling you because you're not where you're supposed to be. Because guess what? If you were where you were supposed to be, you would be comfortable. You would be in chill mode. But I think that those are signs, and you just have to be bold enough and strategic enough to take a calculated risk. It's not about not taking risks. It's also it's not about taking risks that are not responsible. It is about taking calculated risks. Literally, calculate what it is at stake.
Right.
And then calculate what it is you're trying to accomplish or where you're trying to get to. And sometimes it's a number. Sometimes it's a situation or an environment. Sometimes it's what could it set you in place for the future.
Right.
It's all about that. And so I think that that's the key thing, is what you said, is we all struggle, but we have to have a breakthrough moment that just pushes us.
Right. Yes. I like that. Hashtag breakthrough moment. Let me look at the comments here. You were giving so many good nuggets. I don't want to hold you too long, but I think I could talk to you forever. So let's see. So your sister is saying, let's see if I can show these comments. She says, yes. And just be saying, what an inspiring story. We're getting some love. Everybody, we can't. And Trish says, we also have to stop waiting for everything to be perfect in order to act. Hashtag forward motion. Exactly. And it's that vision casting and moving forward. Like what we're doing now isn't preparing us for where we are. It's where we're going to be a year, 5 years from now. Right. And then, yes. And Tricia says breakthrough moment. So, all right. So I asked you for some questions. So is it okay if we can jump to those?
Sure.
Okay. Are you having fun yet?
I am. I love it.
I love this conversation.
And I always like sharing. Like I said, lifting and climbing is not limited to your job. It's sharing your knowledge, your experience, whatever helps another person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I've always I've had these evolutions of, where's my space online or my coaching and the programs that I've gone between healthcare professionals only and others. I love bringing cross industries together because it's so much that collaboration. We have a lot of the same struggles, and I learned so much from other industries and things that I don't know about. And I'm like, oh, if you can do that, that can work in my scenario. So yes. I love that. So, okay. So I think we talked about your current streams of income. You went over those. And then what future streams of income do you aspire to?
Ooh, good one. So I'm just going to recap for my own sanity a little bit.
Yes, let's go.
First stream of income, my job.
Yes.
My job is my first stream of income.
Yeah.
My second stream of income is my home. So the home that I owned, and like I said, I bought it with intentionality to live in it for 5 years and then flip it, is currently rented out, and it is in the black and has been most of the time I've had it rented. In fact, my tenants don't know it. They pay me almost twice the mortgage, but that's a different story.
You win.
That's a different, yeah, they have no idea. Thank goodness the Raleigh-Durham market is hot right now. And real talk, I'm sorry, I just have to tell you this and then I'll stay on track. I almost put my home on the market this year because I was having a pain point with my property management company, not the tenant, the property management. And I was just a little bit over it. I was like, you know what, if I just sell the property, I can just go buy another one. My value has doubled. I can walk away with 6 figures and do this all over again.
I love it. I can be your property manager. We can make this work.
We can talk about that. Because I didn't hire another one, not yet. So, and in fact, one of your sorors with the 11 Omega chapter, Viper, helped me kind of unravel that.
That legal aspect. And yeah. Sam, one of our other sorors, she's there with Trisha. Sam, she says twice the mortgage, and said this is such a great discussion. Yes. Thanks for joining, Sam.
This is about streams of income, so I promise I'm gonna bring it back.
Okay.
But I put it on the market. I got a realtor, met him, walked through the property. Wasn't too happy actually. Tenant's a good tenant, but he's apparently a bit of a clutter bug. Another story.
Yeah.
We got the comps, put the home on the market. Within 3 days, I had an offer. Within 5 days, I had 3 offers. The third offer was above asking. Mm-hmm. This is how my mind works now. When you talk about evolution, I was like, wait a minute, why are so many offers coming so fast? Whereas most people will be like, yes, I got my offer, let's do the deal.
Right.
That nag kicked in. The nag kicked in. Talked to my sister, talked to a couple of other confidants. That nag was kicking in. And then I was like, you know what? I know he's not going to be happy. I'll just assure him I'll work with him in the future. I pulled my home off the market. That same week, Apple announced that they were going to be building in the RTP. And the particular location is about 5 to 10 minutes from where my home is. My home is in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Wow.
And in the 3 months since, because I do follow the value, my home has gained about $30,000 in value in 60 days.
Wow.
If I had sold it that day, I would be sick with myself. So what looked very attractive on the surface actually made me think, which was these offers are coming too fast.
Right.
I appreciated it, but it also made me think, if you want it that bad, there's something up. So I say that to say my home is my second stream. My third stream is my sister and I have a company. And then my fourth stream is literally just last week, I have launched a sports division of our company that I'll spend most of my time in, where I'll service coaches, head coaches, other executives who want to climb that ladder of the sports world. So that'll be the fourth thing. And then when I look to the future, number one, because I now know my tenant is a little bit of a clutter bug and a pack rat, I'm going to let him live in peace the rest of this time. He's been there about 3 or 4 years anyway. But the home needs some work inside because it's been rented for 10 years. But what I would like to do is go in after he moves out next year, do the updates and the upgrades, and I'm going to convert it to Airbnb.
Okay, short-term rental.
Short-term rental. I have another friend who owns in that community and rents out his townhome in that community, and he said he makes in 1 week what I make in 1 month.
Okay, hello.
So
that's actually a topic for next week. Dr. Zelda is coming on, sharing her Airbnb experience, and we're going to talk about short-term rentals.
He's also offered to coach me to getting it to that superhost status. So in 2022, I expect to convert my home to an Airbnb. I would also like to use some of the equity to start to acquire other properties. So my next goal is to start acquiring other properties. And then one that I mentioned, but I think when I was speaking with your producers, I said it's one that I haven't been activating lately just because of the demands of my job, is adjuncting. As an adjunct professor, I can earn money anywhere, really. And when I first got to Georgetown, I was used to adjuncting because I had been at smaller schools. So I continued to adjunct for St. John's University in New York. I had been adjuncting there for a couple of years. And then the bandwidth of my job quickly let me know that actually was not ideal. But I still could. If I chose to, I could still do adjunct work. That would be a 5th or 6th. I kind of lost count.
Me too. You were rolling. Like, wait, I'm gonna pause, and I've put up some of these comments, but I just have to read this. Like, they are loving this. Sam says, "This is confirmation for my property in Charlotte to keep renting." I forgot you had that, Sam. I get unsolicited offers all the time, so it sounds like you're helping Sam with that. Another user does a show, says, "Wow," and then and another user says, "Yes, that's where it's at too." When you were talking about the short-term rental conversion. Look at all the love goals. And I don't know what this space is, but it looks like money. that looks like green. Wow.
Yeah, I was teasing my sister today. We were I don't even know. Oh, we were talking about our business because we have a client, a new client, kind of in the funnel. Keep our fingers crossed. And I was like, yeah, if I didn't have student loans, I'd be rich.
Yeah, y'all ought to be out there. I mean, like, wow, I feel like you've named about 5 or 6, and then I love that, like, they just keep getting better and better. And what I hear from you is expansion. I hear growth. Like, you and your sister, y'all are both that, like, kind of calm, and then you just have this explosion. Like, oh yeah, I'm actually doing this. Like, I love that. Like that kind of quiet, like killing them softly.
Yeah, I don't know if you've read it or if anybody in the audience, but years ago, so it's a little dated, but it's still a great read. It was called The Black Wealth Choice by Dennis Kimbrough. He's a professor at Clark Atlanta, but he's done a lot of business books about Black wealth and Blacks and the economy and personal finance. But The Black Wealth Choice was specifically a book where he researched Black millionaires. And it was like 30 at that time. This was probably, I don't know, 90s, early 2000s. There was roughly 35,000 Black millionaires compared to like millions of white millionaires. And in that book, he talked about streams of income. And 2 things that stood out for me, other than the fact that there was only 35,000 Black millionaires in the U.S., was he said 7 streams was the average number of income for millionaires.
Right.
to get to 7 figures net worth, on average, they had 7 streams of income. Right. Various streams, but 7. So I'm working towards that number.
Yes.
And the second thing that stood out to me is that he was saying that's how people sometimes, what is the way I want to express it? Sometimes people kind of look down upon you for having financial aspirations. Mm-hmm. They think it's okay to want to do good, but they don't necessarily think it's okay to do great because they think you may be moving in a spirit of greed or something like that. And he's like, no, we need more millionaires so we can do more and have a bigger impact. And so that book is the one that set me on the path after my tipping point. Tipping point was personal, retrospection, introspection. But that book really put me on that path towards trying to get these multiple streams and how many to get. Not just to get the 1 or the 2, but I'm aiming for 7. If I get beyond 7, that's even better.
We're not at 7 yet. I feel like we're
no, I think I'm at 5 or 6.
Maybe
I think I'm at 4 or 5 if I count my adjuncting. But I have a 6th one coming next year with the short term. And I want a product of some kind. I haven't figured out what that is because products are things that are passive and can be selling whether you are involved or not.
Right.
So,
right.
Which is why your Cold Stone Creameries.
Yes. We're working on the second one. Oh my gosh. So some more good things. I've kind of popped it up here. So go back to your sister's comment. I make money moves. Yes. Like we need to be playing that in the back. And then Facebook user says, I've thought about getting my real estate license for a few years now. I'm really interested now based on your strategy. Your sister shared the book, The Black Wealth Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. Sounds like everybody needs to go out there. So they're going to order it. Samantha says 7 streams of income. # more millionaires. Yes. And Sam says, I thought I heard 7. Right. Me too. I'm like, maybe I'm just giving weight to
you might have. Well, I'm gonna keep going then. If I hit 7, that means I'm not.
This is wonderful. So I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then I'm going to ask you how can we connect with you? How can we network with you? Let me ask you one more question, and then I'm going to let you share that because I think we have a lot of people here who would love to be on your team. Okay. Let me share one more real quick. So yes, I just finished a book called The Abundance Code: How to Bust the 7 Money Myths for a Rich Life Now by Julie Ann Carnes. And she mentioned that being a myth as well. You're not a bad person if you're a millionaire. Absolutely. And then your sister says Q streams mentioned tonight: day job, real estate, TFF consulting, retirement investing, sports marketing coaching, others. Yes, I love it. We have that. So let me yeah, your co-host. Thank you so much, Trisha. Y'all are like, I gotta have you on here too, Trisha. Okay. So let me look for one more question. I had some notes, but you've given so many like nuggets. Can we get some love for her, please? Like this is fabulous. Like this could be a whole like 2 series interview here.
Who you admire? Like I look at Libby, AJ, I follow her. I look at Oprah. I look at people that are accomplished, and then I reverse engineer, like how many streams of income and how did they get where they're at?
Right. Yeah. I love it. Like, who are you modeling? All right. So one last question for you. We titled this Winning Strategies, which I think you have just given us loads and loads of winning strategies. I'm going to ask you the hard one. It wasn't on one of the ones that we talked about, but I think you have this. This week's episode, I wanted to talk about fear. And when I saw what you've done, I'm like, I know she can help somehow. What is your advice? Because a lot of us in this group, those looking to join at the 6-figure, multiple 6-figure, some, 7, 8 figures, wherever they are, fear just gets in the way. What is your advice for those of us who've been affected by fear as you're increasing your income streams?
I have a short answer and a slightly longer one. The short answer is feel the fear, do it anyway. Like, again, I know it sounds very basic. That is literally how I'm built. I was that rebel child, so I know I probably gave my parents fits, but I was still getting good grades and going to college. Mm-hmm. But I've never let fear stop me. I don't want to say I haven't had fear, because I have. I just never let it stop me. If it's not going to kill me, if it's not going to physically be painful, if it's not going to harm anyone, I just don't let fear stop me, because fear is an emotion. And so we have a certain amount of control over our emotions. It's not even about stopping yourself from fearing. It's kind of like when people say, what's your coping mechanism? So find how you push through fear, but push through. So my short answer is feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right.
And my second answer is it goes back to the first part of our conversation about that pain point. I don't mean to, first of all, I don't wish this on anyone. Second of all, I don't want anyone to wait for this. But again, it goes back to losing my parents. That was a level of pain and a level of discombobulation, like just earth shattering, that honestly nothing bothered me after that. Like it just, nothing was a big deal anymore. And I kind of still feel that way. It shouldn't take that. But truly, it just kind of took away all of that, because I was 28 or not 29. My sister was 24, 25. Like we were not older people. We were still finding our own way. And they weren't very old either. And then they passed 18 months apart, which was not normal either. Like nothing about it was normal, but we had to figure it out. And so once we survived that, I kind of like, okay, bring it on. I can pretty much deal with anything. If I can get past the emotional challenge of that, the financial challenge of that, just all of that. So don't wait for something bad to happen. I'm not even saying it would be death, but just try not to wait for something bad to happen, because tomorrow's not promised, number one. Right. The sooner you start, the sooner you get there, and number two. And then number three, when you get into the place of fear, ask yourself, what do I really have to lose? Because I think if you go through the checklist of your mind of what you really have to lose, you'll realize there's not really anything to fear. And or you can at least prepare for those alternative scenarios in your mind. So I think that that's key. Feel the fear, do it anyway.
Wow. I'm just like speechless here. This was so much fun. I feel like you have given so many nuggets. I've learned a lot from you between the real estate investing, being in the sports industry, your consulting, your additional streams, your selling, your converting.
I did think one more stream, by the way. I do invest in the stock market.
Oh my gosh. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We need a version 2. Like we need to have you come back. I would love to have you come back. So I'm going to wrap it up. And again, I am so grateful that you jumped on. I know you probably were like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. Sure.
I didn't know what to expect.
You know,
I knew it was you, and I know I didn't know you very well. I just remember a few meetings and a few social activities, but I was like, oh, it's Noah. Sure, I'll do it.
We're putting college days out now. Wait, Sam, was this the
I keep it on the low, but I was like, yeah, I remember her. I'd love to do it. And then I've been a part of the group since my sister got me in, so I was happy to come.
Much. Well, thank you. And we appreciate you sharing this with other people. I would love to be with other like-minded people. And Sam is quoting you again, what do I have to lose? Also, what do I have to learn? I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So people want to get to know you better, Dr. Q. Maybe they need your concern. She said it's Melva. We'll leave that one alone from college days. People want to work with Dr. Q. Maybe they want to invest with you. Maybe they need you as a consultant where they are. Maybe they're in the sports management issue and they're listening to this, or you gave us permission to share this on the podcast. How do they reach you? How do they find you? How can they be part of your network?
I have way too many emails, but I'll share at least one. So the one I'll share that's easy to remember is, even though I go by Dr. Q, formerly I'm Dr. Frederick. So you can email me at iamdrfrederick@gmail.com. That's quick and easy. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. Okay. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Most of my handles are I am Dr. Frederick. So most of my handles, Instagram, Twitter. I'm kind of sketchy on Twitter. I'm there, but I don't have a rhythm. I am on Instagram pretty much daily, and Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So if you can find I am Dr. My sister has done it again. If you can find I am Dr. Frederick, you can reach me there. And this was great. I was happy to come and just.
Thank you so much. It's 9:45 East Coast time, and we'll have a lot of people that'll catch the replay. Appreciate those of you who are here live, and it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot. I'm
gonna go write down what I said. I lost count.
Yeah, and Trish has been the virtual assistant, so we appreciate that. All right, Jessica, she's taking over. You got to jump in. So we have our team here too, and Sam says thank you. So I know we'll get a lot of comments back from this episode in particular. I want to say thank you. Like, you have inspired me. You've given great advice. I have so many questions. So we're going to have to do this again. Okay. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that you are where a lot of people want to be. So as you continue to climb and lift others, I applaud you for that. And I'm grateful. Any last parting words you want to say before we wrap tonight?
Sure. I come from the sports world, so I'll sum up the evening by saying, not only should you feel the fear, do it anyway, but you have absolutely nothing to lose. In the sports world, we say there is no failure. You either win or you learn. You either win or you learn. Because when you learn, you know what not to do, or you learn what you should have done better.
Right.
So there's only wins at the end of the tunnel. Fail until you fail forward. Failure is a part of success, and people forget that. Michael Jordan didn't get to be a Michael Jordan because he made every shot every day of his life.
Right.
He took his failures and then said, "Oh, I need to improve upon that." So you win or you learn. I think that would be my final shout out.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. I'm just going to read just a couple more comments here. We have Dr. Augustina. Thank you for joining. She said, thank you so much for the episode. Very informative. Samantha says encore, and your sister says win or learn. So thank you guys very much. I invite you to join the group, catch more episodes, and I hope to see you guys again. Thank you again so much, Dr.
Melva. Thank you.
All right. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.